Okay, so welcome again, Jackie, to the Zoom room for another live session. So done our little sharing. Time is short today, so I think let's just dive into the lesson for today. So, just going to share my screen with you. Let's make sure we've got that one up. There we go, and okay, can you you see that all right?
Yeah, that's okay. Shall I read that?
Yeah, if you read the quote.
Yeah, the day I understood everything was the day I stopped trying to figure everything out. The day I knew peace was the day I let everything go. C. Joy Bell C. I don't know who he is.
She's a poet and author. It's obviously a pen name.
Oh,
interesting name. C. Joy Bell C. C. Joy Bell. I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting choice of name.
Yes. Sounds a bit rappy, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Shall I read?
Yes. If you can read the first couple of paragraphs, please.
Okay. Today's inspirational quote states by American poet and author C. Joy Bell C. States the relationship between letting go of our own understanding of life and peace of mind very clearly. The Course in Miracles workbook lessons and text are designed to bring about just this undoing of your own, your ego's understanding of everything, so you can open your mind to the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation of everything you think you understand. This process, which Yeshua calls forgiveness in A Course in Miracles, and we call letting go in our alternative AOLG language, will inevitably help you feel more peaceful. But be sure that you are truly forgiving or letting go, which means that you are not trying to pardon sins that you think are real, but merely recognizing their unreality from the start. As Yeshua explains in the passage from section 6 of chapter 30 of the Course in Miracles text entitled The Justification for Forgiveness.
Okay, so any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, this is the key, isn't it? I mean, it's very easy to say, I forgive you. But yeah, really recognizing that it's a projection and that nothing ever happened. That takes constant practice, constant reminders.
You've got to remind yourself, because you're living in the illusion that it's all real.
Yeah.
And so the spiritual practice is what does it.
Yeah, and that's why, and I have never done the course properly, because I haven't done the regular hourly or whatever.
Practicing the workbook.
Yeah, so and that is key. And I think somewhere, maybe it's in the Manual for Teachers, he says you can't be a true teacher of God until you've done the workbook lesson. So
so you've never worked through them.
I've worked through them, but I've not done, I've read them every day, and so I did this year-long course last year where I did most of them, missed a few, but it's doing that. Yeah, if it says do it every hour, then you need to do it every hour, and ideally, and I haven't done that. I've done it once a day.
Yeah. Ideally every hour, but if you can practice it frequently in the day, just reminding, got a moment, get into the habit of, okay, I've got a moment, take a few, even a few seconds, just bring the idea to mind, using the breath, and it's about interrupting the pattern of the ego.
Yeah. Yes.
So the normal train of thoughts, which is egoic, when you start
Yes.
going down a train of separation and you're feeling that whatever it is, slight irritation or anger or anxiety, or something's arising, and then it's okay, stop that. Interrupt it with the lesson, correct it, go into the higher awareness, which is beyond it. And if you keep doing that, you start training your whole, not just your mind, but your entire system, body included, to a new energy, a new frequency. And that's why the shorter practice periods are important. Because you need to continuously interrupt. What he's saying, do a couple of longer ones in the day. That's great. Just like set yourself up, really get into it. So morning, good time, set yourself up for the day. But if you go for 12 hours before your next one, you're gonna struggle to maintain it. So in between, just keep topping yourself up. That's really which makes a huge amount of sense. It's continuous repetition, continuously interrupting the pattern of the ego. So that you're practicing forgiveness or letting go all the time. It's not just, I do it when I've got a major crisis. I'm doing it for little things. I'm doing it for the subtle things that the ego is trying to get me on. Like I'm a little bit irritated about a phone call I had, or an email, or whatever. It's not a major like issue like you're dealing with your divorce, but these little things accumulate, and it's all fodder. It's either fodder for the ego, or it's part of the Holy Spirit's awakening process. On how you perceive it.
Absolutely.
It's another way of living. A different way of living. It does require some self-discipline. Oh, that sounds like too much hard work, doing a lesson every hour. Well, it's harder work to be stuck in your ego's misperceptions and feeling upset, angry, fearful, depressed, whatever the state is, and not really seeing a way out of that. That's incredibly hard work. That's a hard way to live, as opposed to, okay, I'm going to just do some spiritual practice, and then my life can flow forward with ease and grace. It should be obvious to all of us, which is the better choice. But sadly, most people don't make that. Most people choose the ego option. Seems to be easier to stay stuck in misery than to do some work and go for freedom.
It's very easy to set the intention that things flow with ease and grace, but it takes a bit more. I mean, that might work for a while, but then I think you perhaps need to do more.
It's an ongoing practice, and so the course, he's given us the workbook so that we can practice. Okay, so back to the email for today. So this is the quote on the justification for forgiveness. I'll read that.
Pardon is Pardon is always justified. It has a sure foundation. You do not let go of what is impossible to let go of, nor overlook a real attack that calls for punishment. Awakening does not lie in being asked to make unnatural responses that are inappropriate to what is real. It merely asks that you respond appropriately to what is not real by not perceiving what has not occurred. That's interesting, isn't it?
Does that make sense?
I'm sure it will do. Pardon is always justified. Okay. Yeah. So should I carry on reading this?
Yeah.
As
Yeshua's
Yeshua
foundation. So what he's saying here is is that it's based on forgiveness or letting go is based on the metaphysical truth that nothing here is really real.
Oh, okay.
See, that's the only basis for doing forgiveness.
Right.
Otherwise, it's happened. Most attempts at forgiveness, sponsored by the ego, make it real. They make the world real, and then they try and forgive it.
Okay.
But that
Yes.
doesn't work because you've made it real in your perception. Now, how do you let go of something that's real?
Yeah.
You can't. So
Yeah.
that's why forgiveness is so difficult for most people, because they don't understand that the metaphysics, the fundamental basis of it is that, well, the entire world's an illusion. It's none of it's real. That's the foundation of it. That's
Right.
why you can let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the metaphysics and the practice of forgiveness go hand in hand. The more you forgive, the more you understand the truth that it's not real.
Yeah.
That gets strengthened, which then allows you to forgive more.
Yes.
You've got to start somewhere. So even though you don't fully believe that the world is unreal, you start by going, okay, but I'm willing to consider the idea in this instance, in this situation. Perhaps what I'm perceiving isn't the truth. Perhaps it's all an illusion or unreal, however you want to frame it, a dream.
Yeah.
That's a start. You start practicing that way of thinking, then it helps you to ultimately to learn this. So forgiveness is the way you learn the truth, by practicing it.
Right.
You see that?
Yeah.
Without how do you learn the truth that the world is unreal unless you practice it?
Yeah. Yes.
Because we convinced ourselves that it is real, and that we've done that over and over and over again through many lifetimes, and all of our thoughts and our actions seem to perpetuate that. Yes, that the world is real because we believe it, and to undo that is a massive exercise. It's saying you've got to completely overturn your belief in who you are in reality. You're only going to do that by practicing, and so the world then becomes your practice. This is how you practice the world. The purpose of the world is forgiveness.
Yeah.
Perceive everything from this higher perspective, and everything is about letting go. My job is to let go of its reality in my perception.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm triggered. But you still function in the world. You still go, okay, well, I can still operate, but I'm not giving it a reality in my mind that it doesn't have. That's really the key.
Yeah.
But mental and emotional attachment is really key. Are you mentally and emotionally attached?
Yes.
The mental and emotional attachment is what roots you onto the timeline, as we saw in the timeline of consciousness.
Yeah.
I shared. Let's just bring that up again. What the ego is trying to get you to do is interpret all of the events on your timeline in a way that's going to root your consciousness onto the timeline. So you believe you are a person in time and space, with all these events are real, and that you're individual, you're a separate person, and this pure formless awareness is nowhere. It's been denied. The only way out of that is letting go of the ego psychological and emotional attachments, because that's what makes it all real. That's what makes the self-concept real. So hence, forgiveness or letting go is the only way to undo your false self-concept and start to know the truth again, that actually there is only this perfect love, and you are that. So it's true learning. In the world's learning is learning more about time and space, and more about how to try and manage within the timeline using the laws of the ego. That's the world's learning. This is learning to undo it, transcend it, while you're apparently in it.
Yeah.
A different kind of learning. It's unlearning. It's an undoing and an unlearning process, rather than learning anything concrete and specific.
Yeah.
Actually learning not to perceive the concrete and specific. So it goes completely against the world's thinking.
Yeah.
Which is why it's challenging.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to thinking on this timeline, and now he comes along and says, no, absolutely not. You're going to let it all go. And we find that a bit confusing and disconcerting and all those things to start with, because it's so alien to the way we normally think.
Yeah.
But like anything, practice. He's saying, well, yeah, it's a new way of thinking, which is challenging. But like any new skill, you can practice it.
Yeah.
And your life becomes your practice of it, and life will give you the opportunities to practice, which is great.
Yeah.
So whatever comes up that's triggering you, that's your practice.
Yeah.
So it's just a very different way of looking at the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything is about forgiveness. Everything's happening for me in order to help me to forgive an aspect, or let go of an aspect of my mind that I've denied, projected out, so my ego.
Yeah.
And so it's all good, whatever the pain, suffering, trauma is. It's good, because I understand that this is the purpose of life. I'm not putting a false purpose onto life. If you think life is there to make you happy,
Yeah.
and everything should go swimmingly, and when it's not, there's a major problem, then that's a misperception, and that expectation is going to cause a lot of suffering.
Yeah.
But if you understand, okay, I understand that I'm in prison, understand that the ego was never meant to work. It's designed to keep me rooted on the timeline, heading towards death with a lot of pain and suffering in between. Okay, I accept that, that's true. Then forgiveness makes sense, and you have a way out.
Mm.
But if you paint an unrealistic picture of the world and say, well, the world's designed to make you happy, and any pain and suffering is somehow you're getting it wrong. What the ego teaches us life should be this, but you're getting it all wrong. So you're the bad one.
Yeah.
When you understand that everyone's getting it all wrong, say in the ego,
Yeah.
it stops becoming personal. You can accept that this is the human condition, and at least I have a way out of it through this this radical forgiveness process, which I can learn systematically, progressively. I don't have to be a spiritual genius. I just have to be willing to stick at it, apply these lessons systematically, progressively to everything that shows up for me, and then I learn it.
Yeah.
Okay, so read the next one. As Yeshua says in the quote,
as Yeshua says in the quote, pardon is always justified, because what you are pardoning is unreal and so hasn't really happened. Therefore, you need only recognize the unreality of all error to practice radical forgiveness or letting go, which simply overlooks all apparent sins that it sees as ephemeral errors that don't really exist. Yeah.
So that's radical forgiveness, which goes, radical means root, goes to the root of it, which is it's not real.
Yeah.
Whatever the error is, whatever you're perceiving, it isn't real. And on that basis, you can let it go.
Yeah.
It's the only way you will truly let it go.
Yeah.
If you don't go to the metaphysics, and I've heard even people like Kakatoli say, no, we don't need to go there. Is the world an illusion? Or no, but you absolutely do, because that's the only way you're going to be able to let it go.
Yeah.
If you go to the metaphysics and you understand, okay, it's not real, therefore, on that basis, always I can let it go. There's no exception, because none of it's real.
Yeah.
It's all illusion.
Yeah.
Okay, so carry on. Therefore, radical forgiveness.
Therefore, radical forgiveness helps you correctly perceive that there is really nothing to forgive, and restores your mind to an awareness of its true nature as unconditional love, which by definition doesn't acknowledge any conditions for love to occur. Interesting.
Because conditional means, oh, I only love when this happens.
Yeah.
Unconditional means that it's just present always, and there are no
Yeah.
conditions, because conditions are of time and space.
Yeah.
It's duality. Unconditional love is infinite and
Yeah.
eternal and is always there.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter what seemingly happened in time and space, your love is always there.
Yes.
Because that's the love of God. It's the fundamental pure formless awareness. Perfect love, as we call it, that doesn't change and doesn't vary.
Yeah. That's key, isn't it? That's the other side of it, really. To, with forgiveness, you recognize it's not real. With unconditional love, you recognize none of it's real. And so the unconditional love is then not an issue. The conditional love, the unforgiving mind will say, well, couldn't possibly love you because, you did this,
What
this, and
you've
this.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. But as it's not real,
Yeah.
there's no
You
reason.
haven't really done it. This is the idea of pardon.
Yeah.
Really ask that you respond appropriately to what is not real by not perceiving what has not occurred.
Yeah.
So don't make it real in your perception, because as soon as you do, you're not in unconditional love anymore. You have a judgment of that person or people, and that separates you from it, and you feel you're separate in your perception.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. If you observe your mind, any judgment of anyone that's negative, the only judgment is the Holy Spirit, is that they're innocent and that they're pure and holy and nothing's ever happened. But anything else, there's a contraction in your mind and you feel separate from it.
Yeah.
And you start identifying them as a person and yourself as a person, because if they're a person, you must also be a person.
Yeah.
That's how it works. But by forgiving them or letting go of your misperception that they've done something and that they really are a separate person, you then free yourself and them from that perception.
Yes.
And restore your mind to this fundamental awareness, which is unconditional love. I'm the same as you. That's all. I don't love you because there's no separate I to love you, separate two separate entities apparently trying to love each other, which is impossible anyway. That's not love, that's special love. I can't really love you as a separate person.
Yeah.
But I am you. Namaste. I see you as I am.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to the fundamental truth of our shared awareness. We both have the same source, the same awareness, the foundation of our mind. So I can acknowledge that in you. And when I acknowledge it in you, I acknowledge it in myself. Because what's seeing that must be that awareness. So that awareness looks on the world from itself and sees itself everywhere. And that understanding is then the unity experience that every enlightened teacher has talked about, unity consciousness. Yes, I see you as me, not I love you and I love you. It's I see you as me. I know I am you. And I am the tree and I am the bird and I am the flower, because I'm the very essence of the awareness that underlies these. I'm not the form of them, because clearly that's impossible. I can't be multiple bodies, but I'm that very essence of that whatever that apparently separate person or entity is.
Yes.
Because the underlying awareness that they have is also my awareness. It's the same awareness.
Yes.
Source awareness. So a lot of people, they try and find unity in the form, and they fail.
Yes.
Can't find unity in form.
Yeah.
How can I see another person as the same body as me? Well, we clearly have separate bodies.
Yeah.
Our bodies differ in many ways. And how can I see, well, let's talk about other species. How can I see an animal, a dog or a cat or any animal, or a plant, a flower, a tree? How can I see that as me? It has a different form. You can't do it on the level of form.
Yeah.
You can only do it on the level of the essence, identity, which is just a feeling. It's a feeling in your own mind and heart that connects you with everything.
Mm.
And that's what we practice when we let go. Practice letting go of everything else that obscures that feeling and go into that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we can carry on.
Where did we get to?
I think on the other hand.
On the other hand, the ego's plan for forgiveness always makes errors real and permanent in your perception, which is the definition of sin. It means that the errors cannot be overlooked. Yeah. You carry on?
So you see that if you make it real and it's permanent, and then it's punishable. So that's the definition of sin: real, permanent, and punishable. Then it can't be overlooked. It's going to be continuously there as a block to the awareness of unconditional love in your mind until you do let it go and you do overlook it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So the next one, this in turn leads to the ego's perception.
This in turn leads to the ego's perception that completely pardoning someone's plainly visible sins is impossible self-deception. And the options that it offers instead of radical forgiveness are.
So the ego's got a plan for forgiveness because it always has an alternative plan to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
These are two versions of its plan.
Right. So pseudo forgiveness. As the pious person in the right, to self-righteously pardon this sinner. Because that's what a good person should do.
So you probably encountered quite a lot of that in the Christian church.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, no, we should forgive because, this is what the Bible tells us. But actually, you're a sinner. But I forgive you.
Yes.
May Lord have mercy on your soul, but you're a sinner. And that's not forgiveness, is it? You're making the person into something that's other than you, separate from you, by labeling them as a sinner and then somehow calling upon some kind of forgiveness.
Yes.
And really what it does is it confirms in your own mind that you are very pious and very, very righteous, and the other person's a sinner.
Yes.
So it's a false self-concept that is perpetuating in you and in them.
Yeah.
And that's not forgiveness at all. So hence pseudo-forgiveness, just false.
Yes.
Seeming forgiveness, but really not at all. Because there's no sense of letting go of any judgment. Actually, you're holding on to the judgment in the name of forgiveness.
Yeah. Is it, I can't remember what the saying is in the Christian church. Judge, or is it forgive the sinner, not the sin, or judge the sin, not the person? I can't remember, something like that. So it's a sort of an attempt to separate out.
Judge the sinner, not the sinner. But then you make the sin real.
Yes.
Of course you're going to judge the person for doing it because you've done something terrible.
Yeah.
It's really happened. You've really done it. And how can you then avoid projecting that onto them, onto their self-concept and saying, well, then, you clearly, if what you've done is bad, then you must be bad. Because who's done it? You've done it. And that's an inevitable thing that will happen.
Yeah.
If you judge it at all. So yes, you're saying, look, none of this is going to work. You've got to let it go entirely. You've got to deny its reality in order to really be free of all the unforgiveness.
Yeah.
That condemns you and the other person to being human, and to the human condition of suffering and death.
Yeah.
And when you don't forgive and you judge the person as some sinner and separate from you, you condemn yourself to being on the timeline.
Yeah.
The person, human being in time and space, on a timeline, and your destiny is death.
Yeah.
It's just realizing that. We don't realize that, but realizing that, when you can really see that, then you won't make the mistake. You'll go, well, that's got a severe consequence. This isn't just, oh well, I'm not forgiving and it's kind of okay. It's like, no, this makes huge difference. All the
Yes.
difference to my
Yeah.
experience of life, my ultimate destination, my ultimate reality, where I'll end up. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to just really apply myself to forgiving,
Yeah.
because the consequences for not seem to be too awful.
Yeah.
So that's number one, pseudo forgiveness, which isn't really forgiveness at all. So it's just recognizing it when it happens. You might encounter it, and
Yeah.
be tempted to do it yourself. If you find, you say, oh well, they've person's really done it, but I know as a good course student, I need to forgive them. So all right, I forgive you, but inside of you, there's still an issue. You've got, you haven't really let it go. You're not
Yeah.
still, no, actually, I forgive you, but you've really done it, you bastard, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's not genuine. It's just pseudo forgiveness. So be aware of that, in your dealings with your ex-husband. Say, okay, so gotta be very honest with yourself. What am I actually feeling? I'm
Yes.
just thinking. What's the root of the feeling?
Yeah.
You
Well,
might be saying I forgive you, but actually underlying that there's there's an anger. You can feel that anger there. It's got an energetic quality. It's like, okay, well, clearly, then this is pseudo forgiveness. I haven't really let it go.
yes, absolutely.
So more work's required then.
More work
You
required.
don't beat yourself up and blame yourself. You go, okay, I just know I need to work some more on this.
Yeah.
Do more forgiveness, letting go,
Yeah.
to release it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, number two, some compassionate forgiveness.
Um, to try and understand the person did the best they could given their state of consciousness at the time, and try hard not to judge them for their mistake. Yeah. Well,
So that's
you can't always
second
do that.
approach. So it says, well, maybe the person had a difficult life, they've had a difficult childhood, whatever, they have their reasons. So I try and understand a bit why they might be behaving that way. Which does soften your judgment a little bit.
In some cases.
Yeah.
But
if you can understand the person had a really tough life and they're just doing the best they can given that tough experience that they had, then okay, maybe I don't judge them as much and don't condemn them. But I'm still making it all real in my mind. This is the problem.
yeah. Yes.
It's not radical forgiveness. You've still made it real.
Yeah.
And then you've tried to soften the reality of it by saying, well, okay, I'm trying to understand their position, that they had a difficult childhood or whatever it is. So this is why they're behaving this way. So although they're behaving this way, I understand their reasons for it. So I won't judge them as much, but you've still made it real in your mind.
Yeah.
So you haven't really let it go. So there's an
Yeah.
element, maybe less judgment, but there will be an element of judgment, still making it real in your mind. So we're going for the whole thing. Yeshua's not giving us any compromise because he knows none of the compromise approaches will work. Pseudo forgiveness certainly won't work. Compassionate forgiveness will soften your judgments. You may feel a bit better, but it's not going to free your mind entirely from time and space if you keep on with compassionate forgiveness.
Yeah. And if you're presented with a sociopath who's had a jolly good life with everything appearing to fall into his lap, it's pretty hard to go, well, you're behaving like this because you've had a tough life. There's absolutely no justification.
Sometimes it doesn't work because you're like,
doesn't
well,
work.
actually, the person hasn't had a tough life.
They've had a charmed life. Yeah.
They're actually okay. So then it certainly wouldn't work. If someone was, let's say he was abused as a child and he'd had a horrendous childhood and okay, then maybe, but still it's still real in your perception. You're playing the game of making it real and then trying to somehow let it go, which is the ego's plan for forgiveness, as Yeshua said.
Yes.
Don't try and make it real first and then try and let it go. From the start, look at it with the eyes of the Holy Spirit that says, this is not real. Remember, from the start, the foundation of it, whatever has happened in this world, whatever is happening is illusion. It's because we're living in an unreal world.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you're really going to be able to let it go.
Yeah.
It's also the hardest, because your mind goes, but it's real, it happened.
Yeah.
You know, there's that resistance in you that doesn't want to know the truth.
Yes.
So the resistance is, no, you don't want to believe what he's saying, and you'd rather believe that it's real.
Yeah.
Because that's what your senses tell you, that's what the world tells you. It's like you question your sanity. Well, like how can something be happening and not be real? How is that possible? You know, you go through all of these. Well, but actually very, very possible. You can see the principle demonstrated very easily in dreams.
Yes.
You have an experience in a dream at
Yeah.
night. It seems to be quite real when you're having it.
Mm.
And then you wake up and the dream is gone. It was all just happening in your mind.
Yeah.
So, you know, extrapolate that to, I mean, Yeshua says, how do you even know that, you know, when you wake up, how do you know that you're awake? How do you know you're not just in another version of the dream?
Yeah.
And the answer is we don't really know.
Yeah.
Because the reality is our reality, because we've denied spirit, is now perceptual. So only reference is itself. If we're going on the physical senses and everything is self-referential, well, there's no then, how do you know that's actually real? It's like saying to the fish in water, you know, what's water? They've assumed that water is real, and that's what they live in, and that's what sustains them. And so to ask the question, what's water, they don't understand question. It's a bit like that with us. Unfortunately, we have the capacity to reinterpret everything. So we can then see the water and go, okay, well, what if the water, you know, we can ask the question, what if the water, what if the matrix around me, it's everywhere, what if all of this is unreal?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's our strength as human beings. We can actually ask these kinds of philosophical questions, and make another choice, another decision about reality. We're not just bound by our conditioning and our program and our instincts, as most animals are. We can actually, we've got the capacity to think outside of that, to transcend that in our thinking.
Yeah.
And to deny the reality of the world that our senses show us. As far as we know, we're the only species that can do that. Maybe some others, there's, you know, high intelligence in cetaceans like the dolphins and whales, but we don't know. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. We don't know. But we can for sure, because we've got the ability now to think conceptually about something, even though it's happening in our experience. With our sense perceptions are telling us that our mind can override that and say, okay, but I know conceptually that this is not real. It's not really happening, because it's just a dream. I'm hallucinating this. Therefore, the thoughts and emotions I'm feeling, thinking and feeling about it, can't be real either. So therefore, I can let those go. I don't have to attach to them, because they're not. I'm hallucinating. I mean, it's ridiculous. That nothing's happening. So what Yeshua's saying, nothing's really happening. But yet you believe it is. You got yourself so fixated into this belief that the world is real, that everything's happening, that you have forgotten that nothing's happening, and that actually all that's really there is pure formless awareness of perfect love. That's the only reality. And your mind gets hijacked into this very dysfunctional thought system of separation, and forgets oneness, forgets there's an alternative, and loses itself in this thought system. Go down the rabbit hole, get stuck in the rabbit hole, and now try and find some kind of happiness down the rabbit hole of this insane thought system. And you're just saying, no, that's not going to work, because the rabbit hole is insane, and there's no happiness there. Come out of that, out of the rabbit hole, into the light, and the cave analogy of Plato. Come out of it and see that what reality really is, and only that's going to make you happy. Because being stuck in the cave, looking at these false images on the wall, being chained up together, can never make you happy. So don't try and make that into a happy reality. It's never going to work. Just understand that you can make a choice to free yourself from the cave and leave the cave.
Yeah.
Which is the radical forgiveness approach. Okay, the images on the wall are not real. That's what Socrates understood.
Yeah.
Images are not real. So although people believe them, they give them a reality, you don't have to believe that they're real. That insight then frees you to look for something else. And then you can go outside of the cave and you can see true reality.
Yes.
Okay. Well, both of these approaches miss the mark of radical forgiveness for different reasons.
Okay. Both of these approaches miss the mark of radical forgiveness for different reasons, and so won't work to free you from all suffering. The first approach I call pseudo-forgiveness because it's really judgment and condemnation masquerading as forgiveness, designed to reinforce the separate and superior identity of the person bestowing the forgiveness without any genuine intent on his or her part to let go of the judgment and condemnation. Yeah. So it's not really, Yeah, it's interesting.
Not forgiveness at all. And, you've probably seen examples of that.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of it.
Well, you're not guilty of it. You just made him, don't use the word guilt. You just made a mistake.
Yeah.
So you went into it and because it's the ego's plan for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And so it's giving it to you, saying, well, yes, you're being forgiving, and then you can pat yourself on the back and say you're a righteous person.
Yeah.
But actually your ego is still intact.
Yeah.
It has really changed. Still very much there. So of course it's going to sponsor the plan eagerly because it's another self-deception. You think you're forgiving, but you're not. And you're not really undoing anything. Your self-concept is actually being strengthened.
Yes. Yeah.
So just, don't. So the being authentic is just like you can't compromise. It's like, no, that kind of forgiveness is just ridiculous. I can't even contemplate it anymore. It's just I'm just fooling myself. It's not forgiveness at all. It's actually judgment and condemnation. But judgmental condemnation in disguise. Okay, so I'm really judging and condemning this person. I'm not forgiving them at all. So what am I doing? Does that make any sense? No. Okay, so let's drop that one. Pseudo forgiveness isn't going to work. Let's not fiddle around with such foolish toys, as Yeshua would say. So read the next one. Because healing happens through the unification.
Because healing happens through the unification of seemingly separate minds, pseudo-forgiveness can't ever heal anyone, but rather reinforces the ego's separate identity in the minds of both the person pseudo-forgiving and the person on whom this pseudo-forgiveness is bestowed, as the imagined superiority of the person pseudo-forgiving over the sinner will be strengthened in his mind, while the sinner will sense that she is really being condemned by the other person and will usually react to the pseudo-forgiving person based on her supposed guilt in a defensive, angry, or fearful way, which strengthens her false self-image of being a guilty sinner and her sense of being separate from the pseudo-forgiver. Yeah.
So then both the person apparently forgiving and the apparent sinner are strengthened. Their self-concept, false self-concept is strengthened because people know when you're not forgiving them, they feel judged. And so then they feel separate from you and they might feel angry and resentful. How dare you judge me? Who are you?
Yes. Yeah.
So it'll strengthen both and there's no healing.
Yeah.
On that. So you'll almost certainly be willing to accept that pseudo forgiveness is false. It's so obvious. And so it's never going to work to free anyone's mind from sin and guilt. But you may not be so convinced about the second type of forgiveness the ego engages in, which I call compassionate forgiveness. Okay, you want to take on from there?
After all, what's wrong with compassion? You may ask yourself. Surely this is a spiritual quality and one we should be trying to cultivate. This is where the ego, which remember is just the belief in separation, gets really devious and cunning, because on the surface of it, this seems to be perfectly reasonable. But be willing to scratch below the shiny surface of this veneer, and you'll see that beneath it lies the same rusted core that characterizes all egoic beliefs. How so, you may well ask, because compassionate forgiveness still assumes that whatever has seemingly happened to upset you has really happened, and now its negative effects in your mind must be mitigated by trying to understand why the other person did what they did, which assumes that he or she really did do it, and makes the situation and the characters participating in it real to the compassionate forgiver, who will then still have a sense of being a separate person, living in a hostile world, trying and struggling to forgive what is seemingly unforgivable.
This is why people struggle with forgiveness, because they're going to approach it in one of these two ways.
Yeah.
If they don't have a teaching like A Course in Miracles.
Yes.
And they will fail over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That's why forgiveness is probably the least understood concept.
Yeah, absolutely.
In spiritual teachings.
It's
because we try, you see, what we try and do is we try and forgive from the ego. We try and forgive with the idea that the world is real.
Yeah.
And you can't. You know, the forgiveness entails a complete shift in your mindset that the world isn't real. That's the only way you're really going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So remember that, you know, the only way of really doing forgiveness is you've got to totally change the game.
Yeah.
And perceive the world differently, you know, from real to unreal.
Yes.
And then you're truly forgiving. If you don't quite get it to start with, well, then that's the practice. Okay, well, I'm not quite getting this. I'm willing to, you know, entertain the idea that it's unreal, but I'm kind of still making it real in my mind. There's still an attachment. Okay, well, then practice again. You know, remind yourself that those thoughts and emotions and the entire projection of the external world simply isn't real.
Yeah.
And, the more you do that, you know, through the forgiveness, the more you learn the truth that the world is unreal, and then therefore that there is a real world beyond that. And there's just this the domain of pure formless awareness that lies beyond that. But you must let go of the unreal world first before you can perceive that. Okay, so understand what compassionate forgiveness is, why it won't work.
Yeah. So, therefore, compassionate forgiveness is really halfway house, is that it?
Yeah, that's where you are now.
Yeah, okay. Therefore, compassionate forgiveness is really a halfway house between pseudo-forgiveness and the true or radical forgiveness that Yeshua talks about in ACIM, and which he summarizes beautifully in today's quote. It's a good starting point, but it will not take you all the way home to the transcendent dimension of reality Yeshua calls the kingdom of heaven, because it still makes the world and the sense of separate self that it is the ego real in your mind. Radical forgiveness, on the other hand, gets to the root of the problem. Radix, the Latin word from which the word radical is derived, means root, by simply denying that anything other than unconditional love is real.
So you're going to the very root, the heart of, well, what is real and what's not.
Yeah.
And radical forgiveness takes you there and relies on that idea
Yeah.
of the world being not unreal.
Yeah.
Okay, so based on that logic, therefore, if any word, action, or behavior.
Okay. Therefore, if any word, action, or behavior that's seemingly been said or done is unloving, it is unreal and has no existence or effects. This is the Holy Spirit's perfect logic that cancels out all errors and helps you recognize that you and the seeming other person you're forgiving are not and never have been separate. So only radical forgiveness with the help of the Holy Spirit, which remember is just the remembrance of perfect unconditional love, will return your mind to a state of unconditional love in which you realize that you and everyone and everything else that seem to have a separate form in the world are really one and the same pure formless awareness of perfect love. Okay, do you want me to read that bit or?
No, because we're there now. This is the session. So does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. It makes sense. As we've said, it's about applying it, really remembering it.
And you've got to remember it, moment by moment in your day. You've got to apply this to your life experiences.
Yeah.
Because the ego works. Might also sound very abstract and pretty in abstract truth.
Yeah.
The ego works in the so-called practical domain that you're living in, and it's going to get you attached to the circumstances, people, places, and events of your life, and engendering all kinds of negative thoughts and emotions related to those, unless you know how to let go. You will get attached. That's because that's what the program's designed to do.
Yeah.
So the only way out is this radical idea that none of it's true and none of it's real, and therefore, although it's apparently happening and you're dealing with it, none of the thoughts and emotions that seem to be triggered are real.
Yeah.
So that frees you.
Yeah.
From the prison of those, that negative thoughts and emotions that the ego wants you to stay in.
Yes, so you have to deal with the situation.
Yeah, but you deal
recognize that. But recognize that the thoughts and emotions that trigger you just have to be let go.
Yeah. So it's kind of being in the world. You're still kind of operating, but without believing it's real.
Yeah.
And so mentally and emotionally, you're not really affected by it.
Yeah.
And that's quite a practice. This is not easy. Because you're wired up, your body and your senses. You're wired up to close the doors. A bit of noise going on out there. To get attached.
Yeah.
That's what the design of the ego is, to get you very attached to your sense perceptions and what's seemingly happening, what they're telling you, and your timeline, the sequence of events, and whatever's seemingly happening in the world. That's the programs to get you very absorbed in your life and your all of this drama, to make you forget that underneath that is this pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Yeah.
Unaffected by all of it. So it's the veil of illusion that's been pulled over your mind, cast over your mind to confuse you and convince you that what is false is true.
Yes.
A mind job of note.
Yes.
But we need to, so the only way out is to recognize, what's actually happened. That's the start. Okay, I accept that this is real. This theory is true. That yes, this is a dream, and I'm in an alternative reality, and the purpose of the dream is just to cover over the truth. There is no other purpose. So a lot of this mind training is to help us to see the logic in that and to accept it. So he repeats it over and over and over again. Because if we don't accept it, then the only alternative is to believe that this is reality.
Yeah.
Either real or it's not. Okay, well, this is ultimate reality then. So therefore there's no escape. I am human, and I just have to enjoy being human. I make the most of it. And I don't really understand a lot. I don't understand why we die and all this pain and suffering happens. But okay, I accept that I'm human, and I just make the most of it, which usually means trying to seek pleasure and avoid pain. That's what you can do.
Yeah.
It's a very shallow kind of existence, seeking pleasure, avoiding pain. And of course, you're always in the duality of the desire and the fear.
Yeah.
I desire the pleasure. I want to avoid the pain. And those movements of fear and desire continuously preoccupy your mind and cover over the pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is what they're designed to do. So the insight I had when I did the Vipassana meditation was that the world was a setup. We designed it. I designed it. It was very personal. Designed it to justify all of the thoughts and emotions that covered over that awareness that I just experienced.
Yeah.
And then I understood why it's called the veil of illusion. It's a veil that's been pulled over your mind to convince you that all these false thoughts and emotions are real and justify them, and keep you away from pure formless awareness of perfect love, which knows none of that.
Yes. Yes.
So it was very obvious that it's a setup. It's a false. It's a self-deception. And now that we're stuck in it, seemingly our way out must be to start with recognizing that it is false. That's go to first principles.
Yeah.
Recognize it is false. And this practice of radical forgiveness, or letting go, is the practice of recognizing the false.
Yeah.
Because all forgiveness is based on that. So saying, well, make it a practice. Do it regularly. Do it systematically. He's given us different lessons to do it in a different form to keep our minds kind of somewhat interested. But it's all the same lesson. The lessons are there to help you to let go of your mental and emotional attachment to the world.
Yes.
And to your story, your interpretation of the world. So very, very powerful. It's just so logical, so simple, which of course the truth would have to be.
Yes.
It's simple. So very, very simple way out of the dream. You compare that to the complexity of the ego's, what the ego sponsors, because the ego's always got alternative plans.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. You go, well, why would I look anywhere else?
Yeah.
Why would you look anywhere else than forgiveness? Well, the answer. Once you understand truth, you just wouldn't. You go, there's no other answer. So there's only this. So once I know that, my life's quite easy. Okay, I just do it. I need to just do it and dedicate myself to learning this, because that's the only way.
Yeah.
So a lot of this course is designed to strengthen our belief and get us to just believe in this theory. Because if we really get it and we understand it, then we'll be motivated to practice forgiveness, because we know this is the only way. It's the only hope we have. Well, yes, of course I'm motivated then, because there's no other way. So I have all motivation. It's like, this is the only way. I must do this.
Yeah.
But if I have other ideas about reality and how I'm going to save myself, then I'll still pursue those.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it all makes sense. There is a perfect logic to all of this. The logic makes sense. You just have to accept the premise that the world isn't real.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not going to make sense to the ego.
Yeah.
And that's where the faith comes in. Accept the premise that none of this is true and none of this is real. Well, that requires a lot of faith.
Yeah.
But you're going to have faith in that truth, or you have faith in the ego and its world. Those are the choices. So,
yeah. Well, we've tried that one.
we've tried that. We've all tried it.
Yeah.
And then you suffer, and you go, "That's not working." So then indicates that you should try something else.
Yeah. Well, the irony of this whole situation that I've described to you is that I had complete faith in this person, would have trusted him to the ends of the earth. I've got myself recorded talking to somebody saying 3 months after he went, saying, I trust him to the ends of the earth. You think,
wow,
that, that just so it symbolizes what you've just said. You just can't trust the ego, because when it all unravels, you finally see it for what it is. But yeah,
it was a deception, so you trusted, you put your faith where faith wasn't due.
Yeah.
In a person who, strong ego, because you denied the spirit in yourself.
Yeah.
So it was a substitute for God. It's like looking to special love as a substitute for this eternal love that's always there, which you can trust, because that's never going to change. But it's not personal. It's not related to a person and their character and the dream and their form identity at all.
No, just from a symbolic point of view, because what I've experienced is so symbolic of the description of the ego in the course, and you can, I can see it's almost like I've got a cartoon character who is playing the entire role of the ego.
Yeah, for you, and that's useful.
Yeah,
because you don't need multiple teachers; you just need one character in the dream to wake you up, because it's so strong, and it's so like everything's in there. The whole ego thought system is in there, for you to look at and then let go of your belief in it in yourself.
Yes,
which is a great opportunity.
Yeah,
You just have to keep reminding yourself of that, because it's completely contradictory to how the ego wants you to perceive it.
Yes, exactly.
It says this is real, this is happening, how dare he's a bastard, and it judges on the level of form. And then of course you've stuck in your ego.
Yeah.
You're stuck in hell along with him, fighting for the scraps of something that the ego is offering you, when heaven is there, but you've denied it.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think you've accepted the only way out, the only way you're ever going to resolve it is through this radical forgiveness.
Yeah.
Let it go. There is no other way. So stop looking for another way, because whatever spiritual path you take, whatever modalities you look at, it comes down to the same thing. You have to let it go.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to do that genuinely is, there's many modalities that work on some basis of letting go, but you really let it go, radically let it go. You must question its reality. You must ultimately realize that it's not true and it's not real.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no hope.
Yeah.
Continue on in the same way, in the same enslaved dream state.
Yeah.
Trying to, Einstein said, significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. So you can't solve the problem at the level of the error.
Yeah.
You can't solve the problem with the ego. You must go to another thought system to solve it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a result.
Yeah.
That's what we do over and over. We're trying to somehow resolve it with the same mindset that got us into the dwang in the first place.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
So this, changing your mind here radically, like he's asking us to do, that raises you above the battleground, takes you out of that level of the ego to where there is an answer. It lies in the pure formless awareness of perfect love, which will start to arise in your mind, and you start to experience that. Go, well, that's nice. I much prefer that to all of the turbulation the ego produces. So, I choose that and only that.
Yeah.
And the more you choose it, the more that becomes your experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Till eventually, it's all done. That's your only experience. Just a piece of God.
Yes. Yes.
which is where it all leads.
Yeah. Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's 2:00 now. Do you have time to do the lesson or
God,
not?
it's 2:00 already. Wow. Yeah, let's
Okay.
do the lesson.
Okay. So let's jump into where are we? Okay, so lesson 305, if you want to read the original and then the translated version of the key idea, and then the same for the actual body of the text.
There is a peace that Christ bestows on us. My true self brings peace to everyone. Yeah, that's much nicer, isn't it?
I think the second one's easier. I mean, my true self brings peace to everyone, which includes me.
Yeah.
It's like Christ bestows on, like some, again, the illusion is that there's some external entity that's bestowing it on you.
Yes.
But actually, it's just your true self that's bringing it to you when you identify with your true self and you think those thoughts.
Yeah.
So then peace will be, your experience. So it's getting out of the idea that there's something outside of you.
Yes.
Using the language to do that, to point us within.
Yeah.
Rather than it bestows on me, like some, Christ bestowing. You have these images of now Jesus, bestowing the peace of God on you, and he's got a, which is the traditional view, isn't it? Something outside of me is going to bestow the peace, and I need the favor of Jesus or someone or something else to bestow this upon me.
Yes.
Rather than, no, I just need to change my mind and accept the Christ identity within myself, and then the peace will come.
Yeah.
So it's now my responsibility.
Yeah.
So it's all about bringing it back into our own minds. That's why we do the translations and taking the full responsibility for it. Okay, so if you read the original, who uses but Christ's vision, and then we'll go to the translation and unpack the translation.
Who uses but Christ's vision finds a peace so deep and quiet, undisturbable and wholly changeless, that the world contains no counterpart. Comparisons are still before this peace, and all the world departs in silence as this peace envelops it and gently carries it to truth, no more to be the home of fear. For love has come and healed the world by giving it Christ's peace.
Okay. So,
who uses only their true self's vision finds a peace so deep and quiet, undisturbable and wholly changeless, that the world contains no counterpart. Comparisons to this peace are meaningless, and everyone departs in silence as this peace envelops them and gently reveals the truth, no more to be the home of fear. For love has come and healed the world by giving it my true self's peace.
Okay, thoughts on that? It's really about feeling into these words, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, it's presenting an image of what we're aiming for, that true peace.
It's really, the words point you to the experience of it. So that's why they're quite short.
Yeah.
Short paragraph, and you read the words, and then it's to take you into the feeling of it, the experience of it.
Yes.
It's not a concept. Peace isn't conceptual. Peace is an experience.
Yeah. I think, the challenge is, I have a friend who's also been through a divorce, but it was a very straightforward divorce, really, but she got very angry. And then she reached a place of peace. And she said, she's let everything go. She feels total peace. the difference that's what I would like. But what I see is a pretty straightforward situation that she was just able to let go of, because there wasn't that much happening in the outside world. There was a story, but the story was past. But when you're in it and it's still ongoing and you're still getting tied up in these things that with all the court orders, I don't know what's going to happen with the next thing, whether it's going back to the arbitrator or what, but there always seems to be, if there's always something that's perpetuating it.
Yeah, well, it's tougher because you keep getting the triggers to go into not peace. So, whatever it is, triggers the ego, and you get anxious, you get upset, you get angry, whatever emotion. Which means that you've got to be, even better, just more on your game. It's like, okay, I've got to. But on the other hand, you might say, well, she was fortunate, but you're actually fortunate because this is your undoing of your ego.
Yeah.
You're given a great opportunity to really look at this thing and really let it go.
Yeah.
And it's being shown to you. You see, the genius of this thought system is that the Holy Spirit's reinterpreting the world as the mirror that's showing to you your ego, so you can now see it.
Yeah.
When you see what it's all about, the ugliness of it, then you can make another choice.
Yeah.
If it's all hidden and things seem to be okay, but that's actually buried in your subconscious, you don't even know it's there.
No.
And so it needs the triggers to bring it into conscious awareness so that it all arises. You have all these thoughts and emotions to work with, to deal with. And then you let them go, because now it's all been brought up. And then you're cleaning your subconscious in that way.
Yes.
That then changes your thoughts and your beliefs about who you are, as we saw with the Instrument for Peace diagram. You go down to the core belief, and beyond that really is just the fundamental awareness of who you are.
Yeah.
If you've let go of all false beliefs, what's left is just base awareness.
Yeah.
And that then becomes the desire of your heart. You're like, well, I just want that awareness is so lovely and peaceful and open and expansive that I don't want anything else. I choose to remain in that.
So really, you can just focus on just wanting peace and focusing on being pure formless awareness of perfect love. And the rest should clear. That should be enough, shouldn't it? If you keep reinforcing that.
Because your mind is now being corrected at the fundamental level. And whatever thoughts and emotions you have are now coming from the corrected mind, the right mind.
Oh.
See?
Yeah.
Because a fundamental awareness, pure formless awareness is now at the base of your mind.
Yeah.
And then that ripples up through the various layers of the dream. And peace, there we go. That ripples up through the layers of the dream into belief, thought, emotion, perception.
Yeah.
So fundamental awareness. So that's God sits here in the very core of your mind, your fundamental awareness. But it needs to be expressed in the world, and you do that through the true self, or the Christ.
Yeah.
That becomes your self-concept, your belief that replaces the ego's belief and victimhood.
Yeah.
And that then has its own set of thoughts and emotions. Your thoughts are that you're free, you're empowered, you're happy. Emotions that come with that are happiness, flow, peace. And your perceptions change. So whatever now is perceived within this field of peace and happiness.
Yes.
Perceptions changed. So you need a replacement. The miracle works in time and space because you need a replacement for all of this. So saying just going into pure formless awareness means that none of these happen in pure formless awareness. They just disappear.
Yeah.
So how do you then function and engage in the world without some kind of self-concept, some kind of belief in who you are and belief in something? You can't. which you just become non-functional. So that is an approach. The Eastern approach, they tended to do that. They remove themselves from the world and they go within, they go and meditate for hours and hours a day, and they go into samadhi, and nothing bothers them.
Yeah.
Ramana was in that state most of his life, and his disciples took care of him. They would tend to his needs and make sure the flies are, not chewing, because we've been eaten by insects and stuff, because he's so checked out.
Oh, really? Who is this?
Well, he's not even in his body. He's just so deeply in samadhi that it doesn't matter what's happening. They could be chewing his flesh and it doesn't bring him out. So then, then he needs some helpers to kind of, okay, well, let's make sure that he's not being eaten alive while he's in his samadhi. But that's not very realistic or practical for most of us, because we're not going to have a bunch of helpers. We have to sort of function ourselves, and letting our body be eaten by insects isn't necessarily what we want. So we need some way of operating and engaging in the world. And Yeshua's giving us the replacement for the ego's thought system in the Holy Trinity.
Right.
So at the very base, you have the foundation. That's pure formless awareness. And then your self-concept is the Christ, your true self, that knows that it is one with everyone and everything else. So it's coming from, it's a direct extension of this awareness, which is one awareness. It's an extension of it into, okay, as a concept, I'm one self, and everything is actually one with me. So you see how now that helps you translate it. You now have a self which can now engage with other apparently separate selves, but from the understanding that you're not really separate, that actually there's just one self. So now Christ's vision is interpreting. So now you have a whole lot of thoughts that are different. Instead of going, that bastard, ex-husband of myself, you see, no, he is really the same as me. He just doesn't know it, but he really is. That is the truth. And you tell yourself that. So now you have a different thought about it. So you recognize him as the same self, as the Christ that you are. And your emotion can then only be one of love. Okay, I don't see the separation. How can I hate you if you are me and I am you? You just got lost. You've forgotten who you are. So maybe it's my responsibility to remind you of who you are. So you have a whole different set of thoughts and emotions that unfold from the self-concept of, I am one self. Everyone is one with me, compared with I'm a separate self and he's separate from me. Totally different thoughts, emotions, and then perceptions of each situation are going to dramatically change. So this is where the rubber meets the road. Which self-concept are you going to adopt? The Christ, the one self, the true self, or the false little self, the victim self. And that's going to make all the difference in your thoughts, emotions, and perceptions of everything. Experience of life transforms depending on which one you're gonna identify with. So you've got an operating system where you can actually work this in your life. You don't have to go and sit in a cave and just withdraw. Pure formless awareness is coming through into your life through the self-concept of the Christ, and then the thought system of the Holy Spirit, which is able to reinterpret all of your sense perceptions in a helpful way. So as I said, it's an operating system for your life that is a replacement for the ego's operating system. That is actually very functional. This is highly effective. It's the only functional way of living. And it's the only way to really be happy. So he's saying, this course is designed to teach you this operating system, and pure formless awareness of perfect love will take care of itself. God takes the final step. At some point, you will just leave the whole dream because your mind will be so healed and corrected. But he's saying, I can't teach you that, but I can teach you this thought system. And I can teach you how to change your mind. So that's the focus of this course. Which is the proper focus. Because how can you teach pure formless awareness? You can't. It just is. You can only teach someone how to let go of the blocks to that awareness of love's presence, which is always there, but they, if they're always blocked, then they're never going to see it.
Yeah.
So that's
Yes.
what this is all about.
Makes perfect sense when you
training
say
you
it.
in another thought system that is actually very functional. You can operate with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really amazing. We have
Yeah.
a way of being in the world, but not of the world. He's giving us something that's actually very practical, although it's got the high metaphysics of pure formless awareness and this non-dual truth at its foundation.
Yeah.
If we apply his course, it actually helps us to live in a functional, effective way in this world and solve problems in a miraculous way that people can't. If you're in the ego, you can't solve problems in that way. You just get stuck in the problems. So highly effective, functional way of living, which will lead you ultimately out of the dream. But while you're here, well, you may as well enjoy it. Okay, so Jackie's just departed briefly. So hopefully she comes back. Otherwise I'll crack on. Okay, so second paragraph. Father, the peace of Christ has given us, because it is your will that we be saved. Help us today but to accept your gift and judge it not. For it has come to us to save us from our judgment on ourselves. Or alternatively, my source, peace of my true self, is given me because it is in your awareness that I'm awakened. Help me today to accept only your gift and not judge it. For it has come to me to free me from my judgment on myself. And so just feeling into that to help you do that. Do a meditation on it. So just going somewhere where you're not going to be disturbed for the next . Hi, Jackie. Did your phone die? Can you hear me okay? So let's go to unmute. Can you unmute yourself? There we go.
Video is stopped. I think it's probably not got enough. It's just getting itself some power, and hopefully it will give me enough to get a video in a minute.
Yeah, well, you don't have to worry about video. So if you want to just read the second paragraph, just to finish the lesson, and then we could go into a meditation, or do you then need to depart?
I will need to depart, actually. Sorry, just trying to. Don't know what's going on. I can't get a proper. Can't see it. Oh gosh, what's happening?
Can't see the screen.
No, I see it, then it goes. I think I might have to.
Or because your battery's low.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still on red.
I'll just read it to you if you like.
Yeah.
So original is Father, the peace of Christ has given us, because it is your will that we be saved. Help us today but to accept your gift and judge it not. For it has come to us to save us from our judgment on ourselves. Or alternatively, my source, peace of my true self, is given me because it is in your awareness that I'm awakened. Help me today to accept only your gift and not judge it. For it has come to me to free me from my judgment on myself. And just feel into that. It's another pointer to the ultimate freedom. More judgment. Judgment in this sense is any kind of judgmental, condemnatory feeling towards anyone or anything. It says it's bad, it's evil. Judging yourself, judging others, separating them off, splitting them off in your mind from oneness. But just feel the peace that brings.
Yes.
In the end, that's what the lessons are for. Just giving you a deep sense of peace. Okay, so if you can't stay for meditation, then just listen to the meditation sometime. I posted one, and I'm going to record a longer one because I haven't done a recording with the the insert.
Oh, okay.
To this reading, so we can read this if you want, but if you have to go, then
I think I probably need to go. I'm not sure my phone's
I'll
actually
read this in the meditation. So I'll post that to the group, and listen to it.
Lovely. Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you, Johnny. That was really, really good as always. Just what's going on here? Okay, so I don't know. I've got this new phone. I bought it the other day, and I'm still getting to grips with how it actually works. But anyway, I think I need to go anyway. So
okay, see you tomorrow. It's my wife's birthday, so what I'm going to do, probably is run the session a bit earlier.
Oh, okay.
To confirm things, but is that okay? Because you make it in the morning, like at 10.
Yeah, that's fine. What time?
Well, like start at 10 and finish by 12 or 12:30.
Yeah, that sounds good. That would be good. Okay, brilliant.
Just watch.
Will you send a message?
Watch my Telegram message and email tomorrow.
Lovely.
I'll have the details in there, but that just frees it up. So
okay,
that could work.
That sounds good. Lovely. Okay. All right, brilliant. Well, thank you again, and see you tomorrow.
All right.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye for now. Okay, so I'm just going to record a meditation now, which will be on. I'll just do a meditation on the insert 9. Which was asking us to contemplate every day on what is the second coming. So Christ's second coming, what he's talking about, and what is that about? So and then we'll help you meditate on the lesson. So just going somewhere where you're not going to be disturbed for the next 25 minutes or so. Putting your phone on mute or silent, sitting comfortably, feet shoulder width apart, your back straight. Keep your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. Breathing it all in. Bring some space, some light, some awareness. In your mind, notice any thoughts and emotions that seem to be the opposite of this: dark, negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way, and then just exhale, blow them out with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness that they really are. Going, going, gone. To the nothingness they really are. Find a sense of peace, bottom of the exhale. So now just breathing in and out through your nose. In a minute or two, just observing the breath flowing into your nostrils and out of your nostrils. Nothing else to go, nothing else to do. Nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still, and allow these words to permeate into the stillness, bringing you peace. Now, pointers to peace. Symbols twice removed from reality, as Yeshua said in yesterday's section of the Manual for Teachers we studied. Symbols twice removed from reality, designed only to point you to peace. So let's read Yeshua's answer to what is the second coming. I'll give you the original and alternative versions. So Christ's second coming, or your true self's second coming. She is as certain as pure formless awareness, perfect love or God. It's merely the correction of mistakes and return of sanity. As a part of the condition that restores, never lost. And reestablishes what is forever true. The invitation to God's word or perfect love's message to take illusion's place, the willingness to let forgiveness rest upon all things, or willingness to let go of all things. No alternative language, without exception and without reserve. And just pause there, feel into those words, keep breathing, nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths. And take you into peace. Going deeper and deeper into this calm, peaceful presence. Each breath and each word. Pay attention to the gaps between breaths and the gaps between words, because in those gaps arises the stillness. So let's continue. It's the all-inclusive nature of Christ's second coming, or your true self's second coming, says Yeshua, that permits it to embrace the world and hold you safe within its gentle advent, which encompasses all living things with you. There is no end to the release the second coming brings, as Son of God. God's creation must be limitless. Extension of perfect love must be limitless. Forgiveness or letting go lights the second coming's way because it shines on everything as a one. So letting go lights the second coming's way because it leads to the perception that everything is one. And so is oneness recognized at last. And so have a sense of that recognition now. Just dropping all thoughts and emotions that seem to separate you from anyone or anything. Feel into the oneness, feel it in your heart. Breathe it in to every pore of your cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind. Experience the deep peace that it brings. And then it has come into your awareness. This is what he means. It's coming of this awareness into your mind. Just a single awareness arising. You realize it's universal. It's your awareness and it's everyone and everything's awareness. So you are one in that awareness. You share the same awareness. This is the Christ self, the Christ identity. When you identify with it, then you see everyone and everything as that same self, Christ. So the second coming, says Yeshua, ends the lessons that the Holy Spirit teaches, the remembrance of perfect love teaches, making way for the last judgment. That's in capitals, capital L and J, for last judgment, which is last judgment of the Holy Spirit on the world, which learning ends in one last summary that will extend beyond itself, reach up to God, in pure forms of awareness of perfect love. Reaches up to pure formless awareness of perfect love. In other words, it takes us into that state of mind. The second coming is the time in which all minds are given to the hands of Christ, or your true self, to be returned to spirit, which is pure formless awareness, in the name of true creation, true extension, translated, and the will of God. And the pure formless awareness of perfect love. Keep watching your breath, going to peace. And more and more peaceful with each breath. Really experiencing the second coming right now. That's the idea of the words. Second coming doesn't just become an abstract theoretical concept. It's happening in your experience right now as you read these words. Listen to these words. The second coming is the one event in time which time itself cannot affect. For everyone who ever came to die will be born in future or is alive now. Yet will come, says Yeshua, he is present now. So just interpreting that, will be born in future or is alive now, is equally released from what he made. And this equality is Christ, or your true self, restored as one identity, which are sons of God or extensions of perfect love. Knowledge that they all are one. Knowledge that they are all one. And God the Father, pure, formless awareness of perfect love, the source, smiles upon his Son. It's one extension, and it's only joy. So feel that radiance, source. Source, one extension and only joy. So feel that joy coming through you. You're entitled to joy. It's your natural state. And so pray the second coming will be soon, but do not rest with that, says Yeshua. Needs your eyes and ears and hands and feet. Needs your voice. Most of all, it needs your willingness. And let's rejoice. We can do God's will. And translated, we can act in accordance with perfect love's awareness and join together in its holy light. Join together in its holy aware presence. Behold, Son of God, or the extension of perfect love, is one in us. And we can reach our Father's love, our source's love, through it. The extension of perfect love, one in us. We acknowledge that universal oneness, Christ, true self in each one, is there. Then we can reach our source's love, pure, formless awareness of perfect love through it. So just sinking inwards. In the deep peace and stillness of Christ's presence, true self. Now let's look at the lesson, which is just a natural extension of this. There is a peace that Christ bestows on us. So breathe that in. So every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind is in the peace of Christ. Alternatively, you might say, my true self brings peace to everyone, including me right now. Just breathe that in, inhale. Inviting this peace into your experience. Along with these words, the words enhance that experience of peace, take you into peace. Breathe in again as you listen to the first paragraph. Who uses, but Christ's vision, says Yeshua, who uses only their true self's vision, finds a peace so deep and quiet, undisturbable and wholly changeless, that the world contains no counterpart. Comparisons are still before this peace. Or alternatively, comparisons to this peace are meaningless. And all the world, or everyone, in our translation language, departs in silence as this peace envelops it. This peace envelops them gently, carries it to the truth or reveals the truth. No more to be the home of fear. For love has come and healed the world by giving it Christ's peace, my true self's peace. So just sink into that peace, watch your breath, just breathing. In and out through your nose. And now to take you even deeper into this peace, just into this prayer. So Father, the peace of Christ has given us, because it is your will that we be saved. Help us today, but to accept your gift and judge it not. What has come to us to save us from our judgment on ourselves. Or alternatively, my source, peace of my true self is given me, because it is in your awareness that I'm awakened. Help me today to accept only your gift and not judge it, for it has come to me to free me from my judgment on myself. So surrender all of those judgments, just let them go, clouds, blowing them away with the breeze of your breath, and surrender into the peace of Christ, peace of your true self, that knows that it is one with God, one with pure formless awareness, one with perfect love. There's no doubt of that. It's anchored in its source. So just anchor yourself into it. Stay rooted in it. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still, and surrender into the peace of Christ, or peace of your true self for the next couple of minutes of deep contemplative silence. And so just gently coming back into an awareness of the body and the breath and the senses and the world. And on the count of 3, open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Scanning your mind, noticing any thoughts, emotions, sensations going on for you, particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way. Let it go, blow it all out. The breeze of your breath to the nothingness that it really is. Letting it all go and finding the peace comes when you do that. Today's quote says, in any way, I've only found peace when I completely let go of everything. So on the count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling with your hands touching. Subtle taste in your mouth, perhaps. Smell in your nose as you breathe in. Notice what you're hearing from this very still, calm, and surrendered state, without any judgment or interpretation. There's just peace. And you're going to stay rooted in that peace. Set the intention to do that for the rest of the day. To help you do that, practice today's lesson frequently, ideally every hour. Do a little breath break. And you can just follow the instructions I've given you in your email and text message to practice bringing the Christ in and allowing it to bring you peace. So now on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around, observing the various objects in the room around you without any judgment. Very detached, very calm. Notice that you're still peaceful, though your eyes are open. The same peace is there, and it doesn't matter what you look at, what you perceive with your physical senses. It's the same peace that underlies everything. And so then you learn that that peace is yours, and it's given to everyone through this awareness of the one self, true self, or Christ in you. So I wish you that awareness and that peace for the rest of the day. Practice well. Practice today's lesson frequently to help you stay there, and namaste, which means the true self of peace knows peace in me, acknowledges, honors that same peaceful self in you. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the meditation. So I'm just going to jump in and read today's section 21 on the Manual for Teachers, section 22, sorry, on today. Section 22, which asks and answers the question, how are healing and atonement related? How are healing and atonement related? our healing and at-one-ment related. So I'm just getting this all ready so that I can read this. So just bear with me, and I'll read this shortly. Okay, so I'm going to replace God with pure formless awareness. And sun with extension. And Mother becomes source. Life becomes your true self. And spirit becomes the remembrance of perfect love. And that should be most of it. Okay, so that should be good. Okay, it's almost there. So this section of the Manual for Teachers 22 is in response to the question, how are healing and atonement, or Atonement as I prefer saying it, related? So let's hear what Yeshua has to say about this. I'll read the original and then give you the translated version immediately after each sentence, or part of the sentence where there's a translation to be made. So healing and atonement, says Yeshua, are not related. They are identical. There is no order of difficulty in miracles because there are no degrees of atonement. It is the one complete concept possible in this world because it is the source of a wholly unified perception. Partial atonement is a meaningless idea, just as special areas of hell in heaven are inconceivable. So heaven is the state of pure formless awareness. Accept atonement and you're healed. Atonement is the word or message of perfect love. Accept his word or its message and what remains to make sickness possible. What remains to make sickness possible? Accept his word or its message, complete freedom and deliverance, and every miracle has been accomplished. To forgive or to let go is to heal. So this is the mechanism of healing, letting go in your own mind of your beliefs in separation. The teacher of perfect love, teacher of God or teacher of perfect love, has taken accepting the atonement for himself as his only function. What is there then he cannot heal? What miracle can be withheld from him? So this is your only function, accepting the atonement, accepting that you are one self, one awareness, rather than a separate self and awareness. Very simple, but enormously profound. Because what miracle can then be withheld when we do this? So Yeshua's setting the scene nicely here, telling us that these are identical. Healing is atonement. When you heal, you become one. And as you heal more and more, the process of atonement unfolds more and more. Eventually, to be totally healed is to be in the state of atonement. So just different words for the same thing. So let's continue with paragraph 2. Progress of the teacher of God, progress of the teacher of perfect love, may be slow or rapid, depending on whether he recognizes the atonement's inclusiveness, or for a time excludes some problem areas from it. This is the temptation of the ego, to exclude some aspects of our life from this process of giving everything over to oneness. In some cases, there is a sudden and complete awareness of the perfect applicability of the lesson of the atonement to all situations, but this is comparatively rare. So sometimes people can have this total realization, but it's just saying it's comparatively rare. Teacher of perfect love or God may have accepted the function from this awareness of perfect love has given him long before he has learned all that his acceptance holds out to. There's only the end that is certain. Anywhere along the way, the necessary realization of inclusiveness may reach him. The way seems long, let him be content. He has decided on the direction he wants to take. What more was asked of him? And having done what was required, would pure formless awareness of perfect love withhold the rest? Good question. So if we just do our part, then healing will be done. We're asked only to let go of our own false judgments, perceptions of everything. So that forgiveness or letting go as healing needs to be understood. If the teacher of God or perfect love is to make progress, the idea that a body can be sick is a central concept in the ego's thought system. This thought gives the body autonomy, separates it from the mind, keeps the idea of attack inviolate. The body could be sick. Body could be sick. At one moment would be impossible. Body that can order a mind to do as it sees fit could merely take the place of perfect love and prove awakening is impossible. Take the place of God and prove salvation is impossible, is the original. So what then is left to heal? The body has become Lord of the mind. How could the mind be returned to the Holy Spirit unless the body is killed? And who would want awakening or salvation at such a price? You would want awakening at such a price that you have to die physically. This is what the ego is telling you. But it's not true, fortunately. So certainly sickness does not appear to be a decision. Nor would anyone actually believe he wants to be sick. Perhaps he can accept the idea in theory, but it is really, if ever, consistently applied. To all specific forms of sickness, both in the individual's perception of himself certainly sickness does not appear to be a decision. Anyone actually believe he wants to be sick. Perhaps he can accept the idea in theory, but it's really, if ever, consistently applied to all specific forms of sickness, both in individual's perception of himself and of all others as well. Nor is it at this level that the teacher of God, pure, perfect love, calls forth the miracle of healing. He overlooks the mind and the body, seeing only the face of Christ or your true self shining in front of him. The face of Christ is the identity of your true self, shining in front of him, correcting all mistakes and healing all perception. Healing is the result of the recognition by pure formless awareness, perfect love's teacher, by perfect love's teacher, God's teacher, of who it is that is in need of healing. This recognition is no special reference. It is true of all things. The pure formless awareness of perfect love, created or extends. in it. Are all illusions healed? So in this loving extension, all illusions, false ideas and beliefs are healed. So let go of and replaced by loving awareness itself, pure formless awareness of perfect love. When a teacher of God, a teacher of perfect love, fails to heal, it's because he has forgotten who he is. Another sickness thus becomes his own. Another's sickness has become his own. And allowing this to happen is identified with another's ego, which is the belief in separation. Self-concept called the ego. And so has confused him with the body. In so doing, he has refused to accept the environment for himself. And can hardly offer it to his brother, his companion, in your true self's name. He will in fact be unable to recognize his companion at all. For his source did not create bodies. And so he is seeing in his brother only the unreal. Mistakes do not correct mistakes. Distorted perception does not heal. Step back now, teacher of perfect love. You have been wrong. Lead not the way. Do not lead the way, for you have lost it. Turn quickly to your teacher and let yourself be healed. Give it over to the Holy Spirit, in other words. Remembrance of perfect love, and allow all your thoughts of separation to be healed. The offer of atonement is universal. It is equally applicable to all individuals in all circumstances. And in it is the power to heal all individuals of all forms of sickness. No form of sickness that can sustain against the power of oneness. Not to believe this is to be unfair to pure formless awareness of perfect love, God. and thus unfaithful to it. A sick person perceives himself as separate from pure formless awareness, perfect love. Would you see him as separate from you? It is your task to heal the sense of separation that's made him sick. It is your function to recognize for him what he believes about himself is not the truth. It is your letting go that must show him this. Healing is very simple. Alignment is received and offered. Having been received, it must be accepted. It is in the receiving then that healing lies. All else must follow from this single purpose. So final paragraph, it's just saying everything comes from oneness. Give everything to oneness and healing will happen. We receive oneness and then healing happens. All else must follow from the single purpose of healing. So who can limit the power of perfect love? God himself, and perfect love itself. Who then can say which one can be healed of what? And what must remain beyond perfect love's power? Forgive or heal. This is insanity indeed. Not up to perfect love's teachers to set limits upon him. Set limits upon it. So there is no limit to love. Because it is not up to him, it's not up to them to judge. It's extension. To judge its extension is to limit. To limit its source. Both are equally meaningless. Yet this will not be understood until perfect love's teacher recognizes they have the same mistake. Herein does he receive the atonement, for he withdraws his judgment, an extension from the Son of God, extension of perfect love, accepting him as Pure formless awareness of perfect love. God created him, or extends him. No longer does he stand apart from pure formless awareness of perfect love, determining where healing should be given, where it should be withheld. How can he say, with pure formless awareness of perfect love, this is my beloved extension. Created perfect and forever so. This is my beloved extension, created perfect and forever so. Extended perfect. So just accept this perfection. You are the perfect extension of perfect love. And that your healing and your one-ment with this one. You are one. So to summarize what this section is saying, healing and at-one-ment are the same, exactly the same. It's a process of letting go of our judgments and accepting that only oneness is true. And that heals our mind and leads to the at-one-ment, our source, which is our freedom from all pain and suffering and sickness and death. So that brings us to the end of this section. Hope you enjoyed that and learned from it, and also to the end of the session for today. No last session this evening, so it's the last session for until tomorrow. So yeah, I wish you good practicing. Practice today's lesson frequently using the breath break I've sent you. You can read this. I'll post this to the Telegram group. You can read this translated version of the section 22, how healing and at-one-ment related. Yeah, enjoy. Wish you good practicing and a very peaceful and flowing evening. Thank you. Thanks earlier to Jackie for joining. See you soon. Namaste. Which means the Christ in me, the true self in me, acknowledges and honors that same true self in you.